So we just, we moved into a new home.
Yes.
It's been super exciting. Minus the fact that last night we were, almost asleep, and our power went completely off in just the top layer, oh my gosh, the top floor. And so Aaron just texted me and he was like, the power went off in the entire house, so we think that there's something wrong with the wiring in our house now.
Oh no.
Yeah, not really looking forward to that one. And I was like, well, is the house going to be too cold because our puppy's in there? And he's like, it's fine. Like, the house is warm. It just went off like 20 minutes ago. But it's always something with homes. It's always something.
It really is. It is always something.
That's why it's extremely difficult for me to consider even buying a home instead of renting. Because some of my friends who would like to buy a home instead of paying somebody rent, I think make it like, they're like, well, you're paying less for a mortgage than you are for rent, and you have an asset at the end of it. But it feels like with that kind of stuff, a home is just a liability. Sorry, keep going.
Well, you know what? It seems to me I was reading something recently, and they were talking about how right now, and maybe that time has passed, so, my memory doesn't always serve me correctly. This could be a year ago or 2 years ago that I remember this, that it was actually more financially beneficial to rent than to buy.
Really?
And it had to do with the interest rate on mortgages and things like that.
Oh, man.
But I don't know if that's still accurate.
I'm the worst person to talk to because between the two of us, we currently have 3 homes. So
Yeah.
Don't ask me that.
If you're, these days you've got that asset can benefit you financially if you do a vacation rental,
Mm-hmm.
or if you actually rent it and you cover all your expenses and your mortgage, then you're building an asset and you're not, there's no expense attached. You're making money on it. And at the end of it, you're just going to have an asset. There's a lot to houses. Sometimes I think just living in a condo would be so much easier. At least you own the condo.
Right. And somebody else takes care of it.
Yeah, you don't have all the maintenance.
Yeah.
But, as with everything, run the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then run the numbers against your own value system. So sometimes the financial aspect isn't the most important. Sometimes there's the privacy, or there's there being out in the country. There are other things. There are other things that takes priority over the finances.
Yeah. I will say that the other 2 homes are the one's in Airbnb and the other one is fully rented out. So
you're making money on those.
Yeah. And Aaron is just the type of person who, like, in 5 years, if he owned so much commercial real estate and all that stuff, he would be the happiest person in the entire world. So I just, don't really mess with it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, there's a lot of people that I know that that's how they made their money. It's just one house after another. They just continually buy houses and rent them out and buy houses and rent them out.
I went to a parking meeting for the Short North last year, and I ended up at a table, and every single person there, they had owned multiple properties in the Short North. They bought them 30 years ago or something.
When the property values were so low.
The amount of money these people are making from having, I think the one had 3 homes, but the average one person just had one house. I was blown away.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And again, in the mindfulness practice, it goes back to checking everything at your values, making sure that that's something you actually want to do.
Right.
I mean, do you want to manage properties?
100% no. It's not.
Aaron does, though, right?
Oh,
you kind of said
yes.
that. Yes. So then that's a direction to go. If you're doing anything in your life just for financial gain, it's just not going to bring you joy.
Nope.
It has to have some other higher purpose.
I love that you said that so much, because people will send me messages on Instagram asking like, why should they start a blog, or that they want to start a blog. Why did you do it? Blah, blah, blah. Will I make money off of it? And I always stop and I'm like, do it because you want to do it. Do it because you want to help people. Don't do it because you think that you're going to get like a paycheck at the end of it, because honey, you're not going to get one for a while. So you better be enjoying what you're doing fully.
Exactly. And I've been doing this business mindfulness for 10 years or so. I've been doing it professionally for 4 years. And just this morning I looked in the mirror and I thought, why am I doing this? Really?
Oh, wow.
What is the purpose of this? Am I doing it for myself as an ego thing, right? Or am I doing it because I feel like it's affecting people in a positive way? What is my purpose? And I think that's an important conversation for each of us to have all the time, constantly checking, what are my motives for this? Because this business, this podcasting, the social media business could become just a huge ego boost.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm always asking myself, am I doing this just because I really like seeing my face, my mug and hearing my voice? Or am I doing it because it really is part of what my purpose is, to spread this word to the world around me?
Yeah. It's very obvious for people who are following along. They can tell really fast what your motives are, even if you can't or you haven't figured out what they are yet, or you haven't had that conversation with yourself. People pick up on that super, super fast. So like there's people I followed on Instagram and their accounts blow up, and then 2 months down the road I'm like, I have to unfollow you because you're not providing any value anymore. You're just like showing your face because
you like to see your face.
Because you like to see your face. I don't know. So I mean, it gets really obvious really fast.
Yeah. And I'm always checking that and asking myself those questions. And I can't say that I really know the answer. The only thing I do know for sure is that when I'm guiding or leading meditations, like I feel it. Like I feel engaged in that, and I feel connected to just this larger bit of energy. And I'm hoping, so it's interesting that we're even having this conversation, because Evan and I kind of had this conversation last week when we were 2 weeks ago when we recorded the last podcast, which was, what do we want the point of this podcast to be? And it was that we want it to be authentic.
Right.
We want it to share something that's very real to us. And we want, through this podcast, through I guess these exploratory conversations, to find the voice of the podcast.
Right. Thanks again for joining us today. If you'd like to connect with us on social media, you can find Annamarie at Mindfully Annamarie. You can find myself at Emily VDW, and you can find Evan at _Evan Ryan. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Everyday Mindfulness. Have a great day.